Let's be transparent about it.
Very simple.
We're going to pitch it out there and discuss it and let the directors of the county agencies ask questions about it. I'm bringing in Mike Jackson, who was the first director of Loft, to talk to us at management conference.
Who actually makes the decision on it? Is it the three commissioners?
It's a board of county commissioners position. It's within our budget. And so
it's the three of you.
It will have to board to shift the money back. We had it in a capital outlay. We'll shift it back to salaries. And so we have to, present our case to them. And what
are you looking for? You're looking for one individual or the whole office?
For this position, we're looking for one individual. I think, within the go, like I said, I really do feel the county is the most efficient and transparent form of government we have, just because it's all out there. We lay it out, and so the public has free access to it. But there's a disconnect there. I felt it with the public when I was campaigning that, we're not getting that information to them. We're not being responsive when it comes to request. Need to do it better. And so that's really what this position is going to be tasked with locally, but nationally, state level, there are big decisions being made right now at a very breakneck pace that are going to affect the Tulsa County residents. And I want to make sure we're tapped into that and plugged in and know how to respond as soon as those decisions are made, how they're going to impact us.
So I'm sorry, one more thing. So you've been there 3 months now?
A month.
A month?
Yeah, 6 weeks.
You're working at Trump pace here, at the speed of Trump. That's what we're going to start calling it. And apparently doing a great job, stuff that your predecessor hadn't done in probably, 8 years, 8 to 16 years that she had. But we won't go into that. But anyway, I just want to say, wow, it's a breath of fresh air. They're doing that. What are you finding as far as cooperation with the city?
Yeah.
Tulsa in particular.
It's a great question because I served with Monroe. Yeah. So Monroe was on my county government committee at the House. So I have that relationship with him. He brought in Shane Stone, another former House member that I know, Amanda Swope, know her as well.
I remember Shane.
Carol Bush is on the city council. So feel fortunate that I have a relationship with them, that I can pick up the phone and call them. I think, hey, where there's areas we can collaborate and help this community, we're going to do it.
Sure.
But one of the reasons I ran, and a big reason I ran, is I felt like, we're looking at a new mayor, we're looking at a new council. There's potential for some, kind of rough seas for the next couple of years until they kind of get their feet under them. And I felt like the county's going to have to be the rock to kind of hold some of the bigger projects like levee, those things, and push them forward and take more of a leadership position on those. And so, but for the most part, I felt like the mayor's office has been very responsive to us. He actually came to our swearing in ceremony and had a lot of people at the county say that's the first time they can remember that's happened in a while.
Well, it's one of the things that Eddie mentioned to me during the campaign. He said, Monroe's got pretty good people skills. He felt like he got straight up answers. We didn't always feel that way about Karen, But hey, I want to ask you something. You've been down to the Capitol here recently. Probably the best stand-up comedian, if he's looking for a new job, is my friend JJ Humphreys. That guy gave you rolling. I mean,
good old JJ. He's crazy like a fox.
Well, yes. I mean, he told me last time I was there, he says, man, I ran out of t-shirts. I had one for you. He's for cockfighting. His t-shirt says, my cock, my choice. Sure. That's JJ. Yes. That's his humor.
There were some buttons on the. I've seen buttons.
This year he wanted to shut down Department of Mental Health and have it taken over by Department of Corrections. And I'm like, what the heck?
Did you get his answer?
No
follow up.
That's why I'm asking you.
See, that's why you got to know JJ. He's crazy like a fox. He's kind of brilliant like that because he threw that out there and everybody loses their mind like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. And he says, well, that's funny. That's what we've been doing for the last 15 years.
Bingo. I knew there was something. See, Nathan Dahmer pulled that stuff too, just for the argument.
Yeah. To get everybody engaged. And then, turn the argument around.
But,
and
I
think it is. You look at it and you're like, that's exactly what we've been doing.
And listen, the day that they were talking that national study on what we need for a courthouse, I was down there for that meeting. Afterwards, Steve Coonsweiler comes out. He says, Dave, we have seriously got to get on the Department of Mental Health. They are worthless. I mean, but don't quote me on that. Steve used other words, but that's what I got.
Steve knows. I mean, he's been through it with his family.
Sure.
And I've got a daughter who's a psychology major and going into OSU Medical, and that's kind of where she's seeing things. And I remember when she first told me what her major was going to be, I was like, really, psychology?
Yeah. And
then I get to the State House and really get an understanding of what our behavioral health problem is in the state. And I'm like, kid, I think you actually stumbled on a heck of a profession, because there's a huge need.
One of the people watching right now, Chance Tinker. And in fact, he tried calling me and interrupting, so I didn't take a chance. But he sent me a couple of questions. What are the opportunities at the county level that we can do to improve mental health for Tulsa County citizens? I know statutorily it's written that the state controls it.
Yeah, I think we're doing it. I think, we got the opioid award through the state attorney general, and the county gets a dedicated piece of that funding. And so through the opioid money, that can go directly to behavioral health initiatives we have throughout the state as well as the county. Okay. So you're going to have state dollars, you're going to have county dollars, and it's trying to get those to the programs that we feel are really beneficial.
Yeah.
Not just throwing money at something. We want to see a return on that investment and really see
his impact. I put together a forum when we were elected new sheriff, and it was just on mental health. I was president of NAMI Tulsa, and Sheriff Regalado, to this day, he says, those are the longest 2 hours of my life. It was Super Bowl Sunday. He didn't want to be there. And he's like I'm a cop. And he tells me now, he says, little did I know how big of an issue mental health was, because it all got dumped on the county sheriff.
Well, it did. And that's where the funding piece comes. They're probably going to, sue us again and say that, no, we don't have to pay that 67, that number's still wrong, even though it's in statute, and it'll probably roll another 2 years, but we're eventually going to win this.
Yeah.
And, I would hope the state, they would finally come to the table and we would come to an agreement on the past funding, because at this point, I mean, we're talking millions of dollars that we're having to house the mental health issue right in our jails, and to the sheriffs and the staff and the officers, and have done a yeoman's job. And what's even exacerbating now, you see it in Wagner County right now. What's going on is here we're asked to be mental health professionals in these jails, and we're housing these mental health, basically patients within these facilities. And if something happens, we're getting sued.
Sure.
And so it's really a very challenging time for our DOC people, for our county corrections people, for our sheriff's departments to deal with the situation. I think at the state level, we were starting to recognize that the funding increased last year. I think you'll continue to see that. You're going to see the new behavioral health hospital here with OSU going in. That will make a big difference.
Well, that's COVID relief one-time money. And John Hayes deserves a lot of credit. Kyle Hilbert said he, more than anyone, put that together.
Yeah, John was a huge advocate for it. Steve Kunzweiler deserves a heck of a lot of credit.
He does.
And Sheriff Regalado for coming up and advocating at the Capitol and educating us on the issue and what the needs were.
I got to do an interim study, and I got Judge Pace. She's since retired, but she was our mental health judge for a long time. And it gets so frustrating because not a single bill came out of that. And then I just so dejected. And then all of a sudden the next year, all this COVID relief one-time funding, and we get 2 new hospitals if Griffin can fix their problems. But I wanted to ask you one other thing that's moving on to another subject. You cannot right now pick up the phone. Legally, you can't pick up the phone and call Commissioner Salee or Commissioner Dunkerley.
Yeah.
It's a violation of open meeting law. When I was president of TERA, Tulsa Republican Assembly, I had Gwen Freeman there. We're trying to pitch to get her some more poll workers. George Weiland came, and I said, why don't you ask Gwen something? He says, no, I can't talk to her. He says, I'm on the election board. Yeah. Here's what I'm getting at. When you got a 3-member board, 2 of them can't talk to each other.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult.
Even if they go to church together. What I was hoping to see is a carve out for counties above a certain population to put it to their voters to move some of those boards to maybe from 3 to 5. That way, if they go to church together, they can at least talk about, church stuff.
Well, I know that there's some legislation. Josh Cantrell, my vice chair on the county government committee, he was a county commissioner before coming in, and he's got legislation that he's running to give us some opportunities where we can have a conversation. We don't have to play this crazy dance in public. Like, hey, if you're sitting here talking to someone and one of the other ones walk out, well, I got to leave because now we have a quorum.
Exactly.
And it's just a crazy dance. I had to do it at the municipal level. The state legislators don't have to.
Right.
They don't fall underneath the Open Meeting Act. And so they don't deal with that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, here's where I want to get at. Now, for county commissioners, moving from 3 to 5, we got some significant, payroll that's going to hit.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, because I was sitting in Kelly Dunkerley's office with Darren Gantz pitching this, Al Gerhardt was with me, and right away he says, that's growing government. I'm against it. And I said, why don't we try it first for some of our non-paid boards, like the election board?
Well, I'll say this. I think that's what some of the bigger counties have tried to do with the budget boards. Mm-hmm. That's what that was there for. Get the elected officials, all the elected officials in the room to where you have a greater consensus around what's best for the county.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they have tried to do. Since we're so big, our budgets are so much bigger than some. Like, to give you an example, in Latimer County, I ran a hazard mitigation bill. Latimer County, 2 mills in Latimer counties, $120,000. That's all that would raise. And so, a big difference between Tulsa, Oklahoma County, Cleveland County, much bigger. And that's why you see typically with the budget board. And that's, I think part of that is to try to get more eyes on the budget and those things. But
I just want to practice on some of these other ones, like election board and other boards that are not paid.
It's a constitution. It's, every county has 3 commissioners and it is a dance, but hey, there's a reason for that, David, is because they weren't good stewards, other county commissioners. And that's why we end up with open meetings. They weren't doing it in a transparent and open way. Yeah. And so I can deal with it, you know, because my predecessors, had an opportunity to do it the right way. Some of them made mistakes. And
another question I have, which may concern some of our people out there, is immigrants. What is the county's role with immigration?
Well, I think the county has a big role because obviously we're going to be housing a lot of ICE.
Let's be fair. We're talking about illegal immigrants, right?
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you clarified that. But that's exactly right. I mean, we've got a mutual agreement, MOU with ICE as far as detaining. And so we're going to follow the law with respect to that. And so I do see that increasing significantly. We'll monitor that to see, is
that going to put a burden on the jail?
It could, but it could also be an increase in funding as well.
Oh, okay.
Their reimbursement
so the Fed or
their reimbursement is far higher. And the biggest thing for us is how quickly do we need to staff up? And so we need to be responsive to the sheriff and his needs, and that's understood.
So is Vic preparing for this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
and Vic's always been a proponent of it.
I think
right?
they've been through a Trump administration. They saw how it was. I think the expectation is it's going to be pretty similar, although we've got so many more.
Do you know what the situation is? Is it a huge problem here, or is it not big of a deal here?
Our law enforcement agencies have done a great job. I'm not naive enough to think that we don't have gang members running around the city and criminals as well. I don't think you see near the open city like up in Colorado that you've seen where they come in and taking over apartment complexes. And we don't have that here. but I'm not naive enough to believe that, yeah, we don't have criminal aliens in our county right now. And yeah, we'll do whatever we need to do to support ICE and the federal government in that effort. And I know the sheriff is committed to that. And I think we have the capacity in our jail right now to accommodate.
Yeah, that's going to be a big change. I can't wait to see what gets uncovered, because this is 1%.
Oh, I mean, it's yeah, if you know, this is not rumor. I mean, this is out here. We see with USAID what's going on. I mean, wow, it's a generational kind of enlightenment when it comes to government spending and
fraud, waste, and abuse. Basically.
And I think we've all known, we've seen, you know, Senator Coburn, you know, God bless him, always came out with the report. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we got. That was it. That was that
waste book.
This is
waste book.
You know, times 10,000 what we're getting with Doge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, well, I mean, we were really seeing where we've got some fraud.
Reuters was paid, according to Elon, I forget how much, just to go after Elon. Think about that.
Wow.
That's, I mean, the co-opting of the media, because I mean, let's face it, their ad revenue is way down. You wonder how come they're still. And then you see things like, you remember later on in COVID when all of a sudden people were finding ivermectin was a good home remedy. All of a sudden, Channel 4 over in Oklahoma City runs a story about all the emergency rooms are full. Gunshot victims can't even get an ambulance because of all the overdoses on ivermectin. It was a totally made up story by one of the Ogle girls, right? From the famous Ogle family that's, you know, owns media over there in Oklahoma City. And they've never recanted it.
Well, they haven't had to.
Well, I think they took the money.
Who's gonna make them recant? I mean, it's the
I think if you take the money, that's part of the deal, is you can't say it. And there was no retribution against the journal by the station. I think the station took the money. I think it was just journalistic prostitution. That's all.
Well, there's a lot of that going on.
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot.
Right.
That's you know, hey, it was a huge blessing. God bless this country with Trump given an opportunity, because he got to go in with his eyes wide open. You know, if you think about the Russia hoax and all that went on, how that really kind of hijacked his first administration. I mean, he got to go in with this one with his eyes wide open. I see that. That's why you see the pace we're seeing of correction in some of these things. Right here, it is not a partisan issue. That, you know, they try to make it in the media that this is a Republican thing and now Elon's evil. I mean, Elon was as liberal as they would come. I mean, Tesla, you think of some of the things, you know, he's taken the rebates to help fund that and things. But I think he had an inside view as well, much like Trump did, where they saw things that were like, hey, you know, this is going on. It's wrong. It's hurting our country. And they want to do something about it. And I think that's where we're at. We're getting an opportunity to kind of see behind the curtain in a way never before. So I'm just, I'm fired up.
I think I've seen, you know, a lot of the people out there know I was a former hippie back in the late 60s.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, I was
he's a soul brother.
Yeah. I mean,
his hair wasn't down to here. It was out to here.
But, and I would have to say there was a certain purity among the original hippie movement, right? Mm-hmm. In fact, the Jesus Revolution, you probably saw that.
Sure, yeah.
And a lot of the people came out of that, ended up finding it through Christ. Mm-hmm. Then you had others that went the other way, the Clintons, for example, and some of that whole crowd that saw a way to manipulate a lot of them with the guy and using girls and drugs and figuring out the way to get over. And, but I think what I've learned in the progressive media, what we call progressive media or the left-wing media, there are those out there that are truly pure in spirit. In other words, they aren't against the right just to be against the right.
Right.
They're exposing, and thank goodness. I'll tell you,
it's a great way to put it. Pure spirit.
Exactly. One example is Julian Assange. When we first found out with the Chelsea Manning deal, the exposition that was given us there, and the things he was exposing all the way down. Who is this guy? Capital punishment, hang him. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we found out the other things that he was exposing. He wasn't trying to pick that he was going after the Bushes. He wasn't going after Republicans. He was just showing our government is messed up. And we need what's the guy Snowden?
Yes,
Snowden. You got Snowden had to go all the way to Russia to hide. On and on and on. But there are those out there which are left, what we would call left wing. As I think I differentiate leftists and progressives, because the progressives have an agenda of changing it, whereas leftists just want us to do what's right. And a lot of the pure hippie spirit, I guess, in that whole
big podcaster. I'm just forgetting his
Joe
name.
Rogan.
Joe Rogan, right?
Perfect example. I mean, watching the transition of Joe Rogan as he, and talked more and more to people and dug into this. He's like, hey, what the heck is going on?
Yeah. And
yesterday
I'm seeing more and more of them
podcast
coming.
All about this, the whole thing, with another former leftist who's now just like, And Eddie and I talk about true liberals, classic liberals,
right?
Who want freedom for the individual, like Bobby Kennedy. Right.
There's another example. What's her name? Tulsi.
Yes.
Some of these, and was sad to an extent is that they've been trapped in this Democrat world the whole time, thinking that because in the old days, that's who was the radicals.
Hey, but I'll go back to, you think about the Never Trumpers. Same thing happened on our side.
Yeah.
When I remember when Trump first announced, there was a lot of people that came out against him, and Never Trumpers, and I think sometimes we get ourselves boxed in.
You can't get out.
We're not willing to listen to other. We're not willing to think outside or get outside of our box, and I think that's what's great about the time we're seeing right now. And when I talk to kids before the campaign, I said, you're living in great times, because much like Reagan, the norms are getting tested. Yes. But it really is kind of an age of enlightenment in the sense that, hey, we are getting freer to debate again and really challenging. I always feel like that's how we get to the best solutions.
You just triggered something in my mind. I don't know if you read or you, one of the recipients of this money from Christianity Today.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, that's the same bunch of Franklin Graham said, my father started that publication, and it's now trashing his evangelical association.
It turns out Christianity Today got millions from the AIDS, AIDS. What is it?
USAID.
USAID. But anyway, it's like AIDS. It's a plague. It's a virus.
More leftist.
Right. But that exactly, and that's what's happening. But Christianity Today is one of those recipients of this,
and that's I think that's where, as Republicans, we're all excited and pumped about this. But hey, just be measured.
Yeah,
they're probably going to find some conservative groups that were.
I'm so glad you said that. That needed to be said.
Yeah, you're right.
Because we can't have sacred cows.
And when that happens, the media will turn. They will turn on that, and they'll take that and run with it.
No, I totally agree with that. I think we've got to just take it where it leads. I do want to say this about Edward Snowden. Yes, he broke the law. Not going to say he didn't. But the federal law enforcement needs to understand their job is to protect the public. Public was not threatened by Edward Snowden. The deep state was greatly threatened by Snowden. And that's why they had, I mean, what's his name? Pompeo literally said publicly that he needs to be assassinated. Edward Snowden does. Or no, Julian Assange. And that's why Tucker Carlson just went nuts when he found out that Trump was still tight with Pompeo. As soon as Tucker got his chance with Trump, Trump just said after election, Pompeo, don't need your services anymore.
Yeah.
That's that deep state thing. And, you see it. You see it with all the state agencies that think that government's more about them than the people they're supposed to serve.
Well, I will say this, it's hard to be transparent
Mm-hmm.
because it does take time. It does take effort
Mm-hmm.
to really get the information, get it to the public, when it's much easier to make a decision and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it. And so I'm not so sure it's that as more of, hey, because I get it all the time when we would do a grant,
Mm-hmm.
For hazard mitigation and things like that. The water managers would be like, well, hey, why don't you just give us the funding and let us go spend it on what we want to,
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, yeah, we can't do that,
Mm-hmm.
because we're accountable
Mm-hmm.
to our taxpayers. You're going to be accountable to us. And is that easy? No, it's not. That's extra work. It's extra steps. You got to do it. And so a lot of times that's where it's coming from. It's like, crap, I don't want to do all this because it makes my job more difficult. But at the end of the day, we are accountable for transparency and being good stewards with this. And our job is to our taxpayers. So if they're not getting the information and there is a lack of trust there, well, then you know what? We've got to do something different.
Yeah. I mean, great illustration. 20 years ago, Hurricane Katrina destroyed much of New Orleans because the levee wasn't repaired and fixed. Now, you are in a town that depends. I remember I was sandbagging in 87.
No,
when it was coming right to the top. But here's the thing. During the Clinton administration, I believe it was, twice they funded the money to Louisiana for New Orleans to strengthen the levee.
Absolutely.
The money got spent on something else. What happened?
Well, I mean, it was the political patronage. You had parish, I can't remember what they call them, the parish counselor. It's like the head guy in the parish. It's set up differently down there. But each parish, you had some that did exactly what they were supposed to. They took care of their little section of the levee the way they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. Other parishes, that was their way of, political patronage, and they spent that money on social programs or whatever and did not do what they were responsible.
I got to say,
the feds were not, staying on top of it like they should have been.
Eddie and I grew up Catholic. The term parish just means your local congregation at the, where you go to mass. If France is, Louisiana is a French colony, and they still have the term parish, which basically is a county, county government.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So I don't know where your faith background comes from. I don't know if it's anything like that.
I'm going to say Baptist.
It was. Yeah. I grew up Baptist.
You pegged him.
Member of Victory. I remember funny story. The first time I went to Victory, my wife, took me and, hey, I'm used to the kind of structure, up, sing the hymns, hear the message. And, Victory, the guy jumped in my row and was like, "Pray with me, brother." And I remember looking at Leanne like, what in the world have you done? And, but I've grown to absolutely love Victory and the mission.
There you go.
And just the people I've met have blessed my life tremendously. Rod Baker's one of them with Bridging Hunger, what he does in this community.
Rod Baker?
For the homeless and what he's doing through his mission, Bridging Hunger.
I know Rod. He used to be at church on the move. He was children's minister.
Rod, I tell you what, has a formula that I think will end up replicating across the country.
Cool.
To really raise up the small town churches, that those congregations are dying and going away, and they really have no way of outreach within their communities. What people don't understand with the homeless problem is there's homeless in these small towns. There's widows, there's orphans. And if we're not taking care of them there or helping, they're going to end up in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. That's part of the problem we have. What Rod has done is built a network throughout these rural communities. And all he asks is them to send volunteers once a month to his warehouse to sack groceries. He'll send them back with as many as they can take. It doesn't have his brand on it. It has their brand on it.
Yeah.
And they can go out there and use it as a ministry to outreach in the community. And it's amazing what it's done.
Now, this is through the Dream Center?
No, this is Rod's mission. It's his nonprofit, Bridging Hunger.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And his son-in-law has North Star Church down in Glenpool.
Oh, okay. So this isn't a victory thing per se.
This is not. No,
Okay.
when Pastor Billy Joe left,
Mm-hmm.
Rod was there
Mm-hmm.
to help sustain
Mm-hmm.
the church. But I think a lot of people found a different calling
Yeah.
in their life.
Oh, yeah.
God pulled him a different direction.
Mhm.
Rod had been very much involved in international
Okay.
for 5 years and
Yeah.
fearless. I mean, man, it's fearless.
Yeah, incredible guy.
But that was his calling, was to take his knowledge and, just he's a magician when it comes to getting food. I think he, 1 year of COVID, he moved 44 million pounds of food through
Mhm.
basically a 5,000 square foot
Yeah.
warehouse. I mean, just incredible.
Yep.
But there's people like that in our community who are champions that they're what make the county great.
Mhm.
I've just been blessed to serve them in these positions. And
Hey, I'm not going to hold you to this now. I don't think anybody can quote the whole Oklahoma Constitution. The thing's crazy long, but some of the little things are in there. I never could figure out why we're not practicing them. They put all kinds of mandates on county government. Two are a county orphanage and a county poor farm. Literally said poor farm. I don't think actually LaFortune Park used to be the poor farm.
Yeah.
What is the position of the county regarding these mandates?
Yeah. Well, you got to think of statehood.
Mhm.
The county was the government. You didn't have townships. You didn't have cities
Mhm.
that were incorporated at that point in time. So county was it. They were the government. They were the service provider.
Mhm.
And that's why you have those in the Constitution. And, we've since, cities have taken ownership of that. And I know in areas we got a lot of pushback on a bill we ran last year that repealed the mandate for social things. And what it was, they were like, "Well, you're taking it away where county doesn't provide those services." No, it just gives us flexibility, so we're not duplicating services across the county. Now we can collaborate with the cities where we're combining resources rather than them doing it and us doing it.
But wouldn't it take a constitutional amendment to get rid of those mandates? Because
with respect to that, I'll let the attorneys define what
I've always wondered. I've never seen a lawsuit on this.
Like from our standpoint, we take care of the families.
Yeah.
And, that's what our social services, and really that's where.
And I'm going to say, John Smoligo told me about, I did not know that the county runs a pharmacy with basically for next to nothing.
It is. It's
you
totally
use
free.
up free surplus prescriptions.
Yeah.
Like when hospitals or nursing homes, all of a sudden somebody leaves or dies, they got these bottles there.
Yeah, perfectly good medications.
And some of them are like $1,000 a pill.
Believe it.
And so where can the people go if they know somebody just doesn't have the money, doesn't have insurance?
I have somebody like that. Some of my clients.
Where's that pharmacy at?
It's over on Charles Page.
Okay.
It's I can't. It's our social services center.
Okay, then call your office and get that info.
Or you can just go on the website.
Yeah.
The address will be there at tulsacounty.org and just click on social services and take you right to the address.
And really, it's for next to nothing. It's not a big budgetary item for you guys to run it because you're receiving donations.
And a lot of the practitioners that come into that clinic are volunteers.
Yeah.
They volunteer their time.
So that's something that's not in the Constitution.
I didn't know about that. That's good.
It's not in the Constitution, but you saw the need. You just pulled together resources.
One thing about your poor farm, I want to go back to the poor farm. Okay. If it's what it sounds like, with emphasis on farm versus poor. It sounds like the people could go to this poor farm and work.
Yeah.
You'd be fed and you do some work and housing, get fed, et cetera, et cetera. See, I think that's a great idea because one of what it would do, separate those who are truly in need from those who are just using the system.
It's funny you say that because I've never thought of it that way. But one thing I was fascinated when I went out there was that they actually had a grow room, just a closet they had turned into and that's where they grew the lettuce.
Where are you talking about?
And at our social services, we've got I think 24 rooms for families.
Did not know
and
this.
So we feed them. It's right next to the clinic. They're attached together.
It's a clinic.
Are they using the towers?
No.
Are they doing?
This is a separate facility over. It's where the old juvenile.
Charles Page Boulevard.
But I mean, they're growing.
Right
it's outdoors or a hothouse or.
This is indoors in a closet. They basically took a closet and bought.
And they have the lights.
I bought one of the upright and it's got the lights with it.
Oh yeah.
Is it hydroponics?
It is.
Yeah,
they grow lettuce and fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
In there.
Tower garden.
And so it's funny you mentioned that. It's like, well, I guess you could say that in a
Well, and so we have a facility like that.
Yeah, we do. We take care of families that come in that are homeless, and 30 to 60 days.
Yeah,
we help them. Kind of get whatever they need. Resume help, whatever it is. Teachers that come in that help with the kids, but it's not a long term. It is truly a bridge to getting them back.
So technically, you have a poor farm.
I think we do. Yeah,
a hydroponic.
In the constitutional sense, I guess we do.
What do you know? You were actually obeying the Constitution.
The modern day, the 22nd century.
But we aren't running
21st century.
We are not. No, it is strictly families. It's not individuals. These are families that through loss of a job, whatever, have ended up homeless that need a place. We've only got 24 rooms that we can take them in, and they have
an orphanage called the juvenile system.
That's
kind of in the news lately. You want to talk about that?
That is what I can say about that is that the Board of County can step in. I think they made the right decision to do that. We didn't have a kid problem out there. We had an adult problem.
Yeah.
They were doing some things that obviously weren't good. And, we brought in with experience that I felt like, that's probably the right guy to bring in because of policies and procedures and what needs to be in place and could clean up the adult issue that we had within the facility. And long term, I think we'll reevaluate, was that administrative framework that was set up for that through the court system effective? Can it be effective? Or do we need to change that? But I think at this point we've stepped in and, working towards the accreditation and getting everything back on track. Our Director Parker's in every week, gives a report to
Dave Parker.
Yeah, gives a report to the Board of County Commissioners.
So he used to run the jail. The same guy. Okay. Yeah.
And that's been the big thing is getting the policies.
He's big on structure.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think that's what they needed. They had not a lot of structure. It sounded like.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should wrap up here with this, but I do want to end with one thing: Super Bowl predictions.
Oh yeah.
Since it's Super Bowl Sunday tomorrow.
This is easy.
Oh, it's easy.
I'm going to get in trouble, though. I know this. I mean, you really painted me in a box now. I thought I was like probably getting out here scot-free. And, I think the Eagles. And I say this because everybody's saying Kansas City. It's the ultimate trap game. It's the OU Alabama game. My brother calls me up and he's like, I'm not going to that game. You want my tickets? And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is the ultimate trap game. Absolutely. I want to go to that because they're going to win.
Do you know what the average ticket price is this year?
I can't imagine.
$6,000. $6,000. It's up to $6,000. It's insane.
I got the best ticket in town.
Your TV, your 72-inch.
Absolutely.
Okay. I do have a lot of respect for Jalen Hurts. He, by choice, left Alabama to do his last year in Oklahoma and did well. He ended up second in the Heisman voting against Burrows, right? So it's good on that. But, Eddie is right to have great respect for Patrick Mahomes, great guy from Texas Tech. And those are great. The Eagles as a team, I've never been fond of. Kansas City, I've always hated because Hank Schramm, beat my Vikings in '69.
None of the
above.
Unfortunately, none of the above is not playing this Sunday.
So there's things I like. I they're not all bad, not all good, neither of them, but I give the edge to Kansas City for my heart and soul, who I want to win. It has nothing to do with Taylor Swift. She's another downside of it.
Yeah. That's something I want to bring up real quick before I go into my deal. And that is the vehement hatred for the Chiefs that has cropped up in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's the calls, it's all the officials. It's everybody. It's rigged. It's one of those things,
right?
Where the system's set up to favor Kansas City, and
I think
just the way the ball.
But I think that it's all really deep down. I put this on Facebook, by the way. I think it's really sparked by Taylor Swift, and not only that, these stupid State Farm commercials that the Chiefs keep doing, that they're showing. It's overexposure.
Yeah,
overexposure. If you remember Tom Brady, I never in his 14-year career, 20-year, I don't know how many years. It's a long career that Tom Brady. Give it to him, the man. He is the man. He is the Michael Jordan of football.
No doubt.
He is the GOAT.
He's creeping up on him.
Yeah, he's still got a way to go, I think.
For sure.
I mean, he went to my school and all that. I think he's good. I like him. But I think they brought a lot of this on themselves. The overexposure, the hype, the commercials, and
that's what it is. I mean, it is. We're Americans.
It's like Michael Jackson.
Bundelowski.
Yeah,
even Reed's getting into it.
But you take Michael Jackson, you take
100%.
The Beatles, you take Elvis. No matter who it was, after a while, people and the media is very much responsible for this.
They
build you up so they could. Mariah Carey.
No, the Bee Gees. Remember the disco sucks. Yeah. That was the backlash for the disco craze.
Right. But so I think that's a lot of the hatred for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm a San Francisco 49er fan, believe it or not. Ultimately, that's my team, and Pretty Face, the baby face assassin, Purdy. Didn't make it this year again, so I was kind of disheartened. But I don't know. It's a tough one for me to call between the two. And I lived in Philadelphia, as you know. I grew up in Philadelphia. They were my dad's favorite team. My uncle and my cousins all in Philly. Everybody, all Philly fans. My wife, my sons, they all went with their Opa, their grandpa. Loved. As a Chiefs fan, Eagles fan. They're all Eagles fans. I'm not so much an Eagles fan. I would have to be more of a Chiefs fan. I am more of a Chiefs fan. And not just because of Mahomes. I think they're just a good team. I really like the defense that they're able to hang in. I
got to say, Taylor Swift is lucky. Because you remember when Tony Romo was quarterback in Dallas and he started really sucking? It was always when Jessica Simpson was in the stands. And they all blamed her.
Yeah, that's true.
She took a huge risk.
Yeah, she did. So Taylor, Kelsey did her a big favor by keeping his production up.
Now, the only thing I would say about all of the Chief hatred, I think it's going to fuel the Chiefs to play that much harder. So in a way, I think that could actually backfire on the Eagles for the Chiefs to say, we're sick and tired of you saying that it's the refs. It's not the refs. What's the betting guy? What's his name? Do you know who I'm talking about? The guy that is has the betting site and he's on.
Barstool Sports. Yeah, it's Dave
Portnoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he hates the Chiefs because he's been betting against them and losing a shit. No, it's serious. I think on one bet he lost either 100,000 or $1 million on one. Wow. Was it a million? I don't know, but it was a chunk of money. And he puts this video in talking about Mahomes taking a dive and all it was, Mahomes is going out of bounds. He slows down and he's right at the line. And the Houston, there were two of them coming on. The one just hits him and Mahomes slowed down. He was stopping and the guy hits him outside. So Mahomes stumbles and falls down. But Mahomes, he just got up and ran back to the huddle. No flag was thrown or anything. What's his name's accusing him of diving like in soccer or something. But Mahomes never made any play like he never did that. And he just got knocked about 5, 6 feet forward. Yeah. Got up and went back to the huddle. But they're picking up. But I think Dave Portnoy's real beef was he's been losing his shirt betting against the Chiefs. So you got to look at a lot of this stuff. I think that has something to play too.
I was over at David Alexander's house beginning of the week, and he used to be the point of the spear, the center for the Eagles, all pro, when Randall Cunningham was there. I tried to ask him, I said, why is it the Eagles can do the tush push and nobody else has the success?
That's true.
He didn't have an answer for me.
It was Kelsey's brother.
He's gone, though.
Probably right.
He's gone, though, now.
I know, but they've been stopping him. They've been
this last game?
Well, that last game, but whoever they
played.
The
guy that kept jumping over, but that was that the Chiefs? Somebody tried the tush. Oh, he was jumping over the line.
Oh, that was Washington.
Was that Washington? Yeah, that's right.
But somebody before that game was able to stop the tush push. They were able to undercut him and figure it out.
It's still more than 90% effective, though.
Oh, yeah. But somebody will figure it out because it's just, one of those deals that you can't always
it's automatic. You get a yard.
Change the rules because usually when something's like that's automatic, they'll end up.
Well, here's the thing they did.
Well, the Reggie Bush, it was against, was it OU? It was against OU they were playing when Reggie Bush was at Southern Cal. And he was pushed. It was against the rules, but they never called it.
That's the thing. They did. The NFL changed the rules because used to be.
Well, it's college. It was in college. And Reggie Bush was doing it. And then the NFL changed it as well.
Yeah. Right. Because it used to be you could not